Summer in California. Sun's out, sunglasses are on, sunscreen is on, the camera's on. Well, I guess it's become a tradition that when I'm in Los Angeles, I make a video about watches. This is actually the third part of an accidental trilogy talking about my collection of watches. The first installment, I talked about the core timepieces in my collection, the big five, as I like to call them, and I'll link to that video above. I made a follow-up video talking about 3 watches I have which were made famous by Hollywood stars, and again, I'll link to that video as well. So this video is going to summarize everything else. Before we get into it, I just want to say, sorry it's been a while, but the last few weeks / months have been incredibly busy. 3 separate trips to the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas. There was a PokerStars event in Malaga I went to. I also did trips to Dublin and Helsinki and took a vacation to Iceland as well. But I'm going to make every effort to make more videos more frequently. So I would genuinely appreciate it if you could take the time to subscribe to the channel. Please give this video a thumbs up. And of course, happy to talk watches with you in the comments below. So all of the watches I'm talking about today are great summer watches, and all of them fall into a category that watch collectors would call affordable, which means they cost hundreds rather than thousands of dollars. Now, I'm not saying that they're cheap, and I appreciate there are some people who aren't willing to spend or can't afford to spend hundreds of dollars on something that is completely not essential. But in the bizarre world of watches, where there are Richard Milles that run into the millions, something that costs a few hundred is considered to be attainable. Well, we're going to start with a watch brand that's definitely attainable / affordable, and is a great starting point for any watch collector: Seiko. Specifically the Seiko 5 range, and even more specifically, it's the watch I'm wearing right now, the Seiko 5 GMT with the orange dial. You can probably tell I have very boring dress sense. I wear black and various shades of grey and dark blue, so sometimes it's nice to add a bit of colour, and I love the orange dial on this watch. It comes on a Jubilee style bracelet, and I wore this watch on the bracelet when I did flamingo yoga in the Bahamas 18 months ago. That was very uncomfortable, so I swapped it out for a white rubber strap, and I think the white and orange combo just looks awesome. This is a great watch to wear in the sunshine. It's a great watch to wear when you're on vacation, and like so many of the timepieces in my collection, it helps me keep track of the time at home and abroad. Let's stick with watches from Japan and talk about the Casio GShock. This is a cultural icon that's now more than 40 years old, and there are hundreds of GShocks available in the range. Most collectors have dozens. I'm quite restrained. I only have 3. I only had 2 up until recently, but I bought this Stormtrooper White model. Now, this is a modern GShock. I can't remember the reference number. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the video description. I bought it because I love the memory in pixel display. It's stunning and also incredibly legible. It also has smartwatch functionality. It can do step tracking and you can get message alerts on it, but I have all of that switched off. Of course, the classic GShock and the closest to the original from 1983 is the Square. And I have the 5610, which is solar powered, so you never have to change the battery, and also has multi-band 6, which means it receives a signal from the atomic clock every single night, so it's always telling the correct time. And to be honest, no one needs any watch other than this. It does everything. It has a world timer, it has a stopwatch, it has alarms, it has a countdown timer. It is the most versatile, best value timepiece on the market, bar none. Finally, as far as the GShocks are concerned, there's the Casio. This model came out about 5 years ago, so called because it reminded people of the AP Royal Oak with the octagonal dial. It's made by Casio, so Casio, ha ha ha. I probably jumped on the hype train a little bit with this one. I don't dislike it. I like the Ana-Digi display, but it probably gets less wrist time than the good old 5610. As I keep saying, you cannot go wrong with this watch. Moving on, let's talk about mil-spec watches. Watches specifically produced for the armed forces. Now, I think I already talked about the CWC Royal Navy Diver in one of my Q&A videos. So let's skip ahead to the Marathon Navigator. Marathon is a Canadian company. Their watches are made in Switzerland, and this specific model was designed in conjunction with the US Air Force back in the 1980s. It is a phenomenal watch, which only cost me about $300. It's super light because it's made of a fiber composite material. So again, perfect for wearing on vacation. It has that classic field watch aesthetic, and it has a 12-hour bezel, which means, guess what? It's great for tracking a second time zone. And then we come to the MoonSwatch. So what hasn't been said about this collaboration between Omega and Swatch? Was it a genius marketing ploy? Yes. Did it create genuine hype around wristwatches? Absolutely. Did it cheapen the Omega brand? No. Have they released too many of them? Yes. Are they cheap plastic watches that are overpriced? Yes. But do they look awesome? Yes. And that's why I wanted to have one. They came out in 2022. It took me a year to find one, and I bought the Mission to Jupiter. See if you can guess why I wanted that specific model in the comments below. There is a movie connection. None of the watches featured so far cost more than $500. So if nothing else, I hope this video has proved that you don't have to spend a fortune to have a decent watch on your wrist. That being said, if you do have a bit more money to spend, I do recommend looking at German watches because you get more bang for your buck. You don't pay the premium that comes with the words Swiss made. Take, for example, the watch brand Sinn. I have their 105 UTC. This is an award-winning design. It's a very functional design, another GMT watch, and this is the closest I have to an everyday watch. This is the watch that I'll stick on my wrist when I'm working at my desk or going out to run a few errands in London. Suffice to say, I do not need you to tell me in the comments that I own too many watches. I am well aware. It's taken me 3 videos to talk about them all. Anyway, going to move on to movies next. And of course, I've got that Pierce Brosnan live stream, that retrospective look at his tenure as Bond coming up in August. Until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.